Peter, Transformers have came to take over the world. We've seen this at Lama. We've seen a few pictures floating about. We know we're tiptoeing into the world of autonomy, but this is as autonomous as it gets.
Absolutely.
I.e., there is no cab.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about this and you and what your relationship with this is, because I know you from a past life, so I know you're all into your technology. So how does this work?
So I'm Peter Robinson from AGXEED, sales manager for international region. So I have been looking out for robots, been fascinated with them for decades. The Lely robots back in the early 90s, Trimble auto guidance for the last 15 years, and then keeping an eye out for autonomy, for robots, and this came along and just blew everything else out of the water. Runs on diesel. Every farm's got a diesel tank in the corner of the yard. It has a 3-point linkage. Many robots don't have 3-point linkage.
Yes.
And with this track and driveline system, can outpull and outperform most of the tractors.
So, before we walk out round it and talk about it, what can it do in broad terms?
So it's best at cultivating generally, low interaction from users. So straw raking, light, heavy cultivations, subsoiling, rolling after the crops are in as the basic platform. And then from there, we have machines running Australia, spraying, drilling, planting maize. So adding more, month by month, the implements are getting smarter to allow us to do more.
Leave out current conditions and climate and all of that, because it has been a wee bit tricky. What can't it do?
Logistics are a concern, getting it from field to field. It's not homologated for road use.
So
it needs to move from field to field on a loader.
That's okay, and that will come. But physically, what would be the job that you would say it can't do if you had enough of time or just couldn't get it set up to do? Is there any job that it couldn't do?
Complex jobs where we have a lot of variable inputs. Baling, the size of the swath can vary so much. Not ideally suited for this, wouldn't have thought. Raking,
I would argue it could do that.
Oh. If the conditions are good enough and repeatable enough that it could go into, then yes, it could.
Yes, it might be able to go up the side of the hill and around the corner, but I mean, in a flat field, I don't think you'd have any problem getting that set up.
Generally, for your terrain, though, field sizes being 6 to 10 acres.
Yeah.
How long does it take to rake a 6-acre field?
I know, very long.
20 minutes. So the economics are there, but no, technically it could do everything else. PTO, remote valves, it's all
there basically. Yeah. So the simple bit of this machine is it can go into a field. You can map out the field, you can input it into your mobile phone. It can run in the region of 20 hours without needing fuel at, you did tell me this, 75% engine load. Yep. So it can work hard for 20 hours, not need diesel. It looks small, but it's not small.
No.
Did you tell me there were 7.5 ton here?
Yep.
So how does it not hit me and kill me?
So safety is obviously a primary concern. We have a very complex safety system, which has taken a lot of developing, but basically it's always looking around itself with multiple sensors, multiple layers of safety, which has been approved by regulatory bodies. And as a result, that will allow you to leave it unsupervised working in a field.
But it's like got a combination of everything. Do you say LiDAR?
That's right.
Radar?
Well done.
And?
Ultrasound.
Ultrasound.
That's right, just like the reversing sensors on the back of your truck.
So this is radar.
That's it.
That's the same idea as the car and its adaptive cruise control. Basically, if you are stood in its way, not there, hits you, stops dead.
That's it.
Even at 14k, you said it'll stop before the track gets to you. And then this here's zooming around all the time, scanning the whole operation. And then our Novatel guidance system here is not that unlike our Green Star, our Trimble system. It's effectively working the lines and mapping the field and the boundaries and knowing what to do.
Yep, that's it.
And it's a Deutz engine.
That's right, your favourite?
Well, I do like my Deutz. 160 horsepower. You get a wheel version.
We do, a wheel version, yeah. So there's three in the portfolio, a 3-wheeler which is generally just 4 foot wide for orchards and vineyards. Then we go to a 4-wheeler, 75 horsepower at the minute. So that's for inter-row hoeing, seeding, and lighter duties. And then we're up to 160 with the largest.
Cutting grass and stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
Just like big areas of not being smart, top on something like that, and it'll just go round and round. I heard, because you did tell me, or someone told me at Lama, that was one of them that was sold, was on like a, I'm going to call it a turf farm. I don't know if that's what you call
That's right, yeah.
A turf farm. And it's literally cutting hundreds of acres on repeat.
That's right. So customer in Kent's got 2 units, and he's cutting turf for 2,500 acres a week with that. Cutting turf ready for domestic market. It has to be done every 2 days. And then when they're not mowing, they're also rotavating and para harrowing, getting a really fine seed bed for the resowing of the turf.
How do you drive it? This?
That's right. So when you have a machine delivered,
This is like an Xbox.
we then load in all your implements into the digital shed, measure them up, make sure we've got all those dimensions correct. We'll measure your fields as well. You can add more fields in as you wish, but just to make the transition easier, we'll map those. So then there's a bit of planning on your phone or on the web portal, and you decide which way you want to work the field. So just like a tractor, you can work your fields at 45 degrees to the tram lines and adjust how you find best to work your fields. So with those all loaded in, you simply select the AGBot of your choice, the implement you're going to put the back in the field, and click it, send the mission to the machine, and then from there it's just a matter of getting the machine into the field. Once you've got the implement in the ground, you can press the autonomy button and you can see it head off down the field. And then from there, if you want to make any changes, raise the implement, lower the implement, change your speed, make those changes and save it. And then from there, leave it to do the job. You've got cameras front and rear, so at all times you can see off your phone or your computer what it's doing, where it is.
It's not going to be for everybody, of course, and you're not in a position to sell them to everybody, but they are selling, and they are, you know, there's quite a good number of them out there, and I am right in saying they're Holland built.
That's right, yeah. Manufacturing needs
and a real clever team of design engineers behind it, coming from a long expertise of working at next level agricultural manufacturing, if I remember correctly what you told me.
Yeah, that's right. The core team were involved with building sprayers, and that production was moved elsewhere, so it left 4 guys. They went and sat in the garden shed, the 4 of them, and decided what they wanted to do together, and they drew out this on paper. The legislation had changed in 2018 to allow this to happen. Autonomy before that was very questionable. So that came along. 15 months later, they had a remote control prototype, and then 5 months later, late 2019, fully working autonomous AGBot. They then had a year taking it around Europe, getting thoughts and opinions. The hitch was changed, some other modifications, and the bumper added for the safety requirements that are needed. And then from there, the last nearly 3 years, been selling machines, Australia, New Zealand,
Yeah, you
throughout
see,
Europe.
in my head, I can see how that would work, because vast, big, map out a paddock at 400 or 500 acres and see you later, Bob, carry on, sort of thing. I can see there's a massive difference between, say, there, or Australia to here, but there are plenty of areas where there's blocks of ground, and of course, it can work. But maybe all of that will become, well, I'm just thinking of the little robot at home that cuts the lawn. You know, I have a lane, and there is a path that knows to go between them. You know, so blocks of ground, it's probably all there where it can link up to its fields and start and keep going. So the bumper, this is soft.
That's right. So that's a digital bumper. In theory, the safety systems should always be working. They're checked, and there's redundancy in these systems. But in the event of that failing, this digital bumper will put the handbrake on and kill the engine as soon as you touch it.
Zuidberg weight on there. Do you need a wee bit of weight for just a counterbalance for your, I see your big fan here. So the fan's coming at us first.
That's right, yeah. So reversible fan at the end of every 3rd row. Fan will reverse for 15 seconds, just to keep that clear. We are able to put this machine into reverse drive. So there is no front PTO. We would use the rear PTO. You can mount toppers or such on the rear of the machine, and then plan in that direction, so you can get a bit of chaff coming up. So the reversible fan keeps all that clear.
So up, down, arms, linkage?
Up, down, arms, emergency stop. We can have options for front remotes. So some customers are taking front hoppers for drills, and so they'll be using that for...
You need it. All this technology and you haven't worked out how to delete the AdBlue.
Working on it.
Edit!
Yeah, sadly that's a requirement for all of us.
Tracks, Zuidberg, did you tell me?
That's right.
These?
Yep. So bespoke for us, the drive line delivering so much torque to the ground with this transmission system. So suspension built in for making sure these ground...
How does the suspension work?
Stay in the both. So you can see just in here, cylinders at both sides, which work against one another. Yep. To provide...
Is that a wee... Oh, yes.
Yep.
Almost like a front axle in a tractor.
That's right. Left to right cylinders, counter opposing. So yeah, belt widths, we go down to 300 mil. So if you're wanting to run down vegetable tracks, we can work in beds. And then the Americans, as always, like things big, they're out at 3 feet tracks. So they really do float, especially in the real soft soils of Holland.
Well, how have you found this in our wet conditions this year?
Really good.
Floating well.
Yeah, floating well. And again, one of these machines has been running in Bedfordshire, a lot of clay, and they traditionally use Challengers, and they're always thumping the ground, and they spend all the time pulling that compaction out, but these float really well.
Obviously, all of this technology can't see the wet spot, but what field safe is there? What can you do?
So we're monitoring track speed all the time, and the GPS speed, so we can easily tell if a track's spinning out. We can adjust how much slip you're willing to tolerate before we raise the implement, so just like slip and draft control.
Okay.
And then if we see excessive track slip, we can then bring the machine to a stop and notify you as the operator, would you like us to carry on or would you like us to stop? And then you as a user can make a decision whether you want to try again, try and dig your way through it.
Can we look in on our cameras and go, oh, there's a little wet spot, reverse back? Sadly,
at the minute, remotely, you can't do that. You need to be in the field to make any custom movements or adjustments to the machine.
When you say sadly at the moment, that sounds like there's something that could be changing there.
It's all the time improving, all sorts of changes.
So if there is that wee bit of an issue, it notifies you, you have the decision to make, you know what, you've done well today, that'll do you for tonight. We'll see you in the morning.
Yep.
We can say, you know what, I know once we get round that wet spot, that can work away another 5-6 hours while I'm sleeping, so you can make the effort to go out. So it's no different to going out to pull and matey who you've left in the tractor to drive through it anyway and get stuck.
Yep. Exactly the same. Yeah.
Now our linkage.
Linkage.
Just fairly.
I struggle to pronounce this. With a shield, linkage, the back.
Volter shield.
Well done, that's it. So 8-ton lift capacity.
I'm half German, I think. No.
What? 8-ton lift capacity. Absolutely. I've not found anything it won't lift.
Are you serious right now?
Serious. 8 tons.
Now, is that 8-ton absolute max lift, or is that a good solid 8-ton it can lift?
Good solid 8 tons.
So you have it on the Amazon, where Alec Wilkinson's. I have seen videos and pictures already of this running, looking well on social media. Alec's worried that the roller, it's not going to work, it's going to be too tacky, so he's offered us one of his implements to put on and see how it goes. So effectively what you're going to have to do now is what's a normal job on any farm. It's basically hook off one implement and hook on another.
Just straightforward, just like as you normally do, but in fact you're stood here with the remote control.
It's almost safer.
Almost safer, yeah. Far easier if nothing else.
Seriously?
So yeah, standard 3-point linkage, standard 6-spline PTO, standard 4 remote valves, plus power beyond, case drain, isobus.
Is this the sort of thing that in larger arable operations there's a place for one in most guys, or is it a case of who's going to buy it? That's maybe my question.
So robots have been around for decades. Autonomous tractors have been concepts people have bounded about for decades also, and they've never come to market, or they're very bespoke to a single operation. The guys who designed this went with the brief, it must outperform Europe's average-sized tractor. So it needed to outpull, outlift the competition, and it needed to work with 3-point linkage implements that yards have been scattered around the world with. The 3-point linkage has been out for 100 years, still going strong. And so with that and running on diesel that farmers are all used to, we think this is I think this is the right tool over any.
On paper, it really has everything, and the possibility in the future is bigger versions for bigger markets. Cost is probably going to be a bit of an issue, and I'm only saying that based on what it is. In my eyes, apart from tractors having an operator present, a lot of the arable applications are just basically being ran full autonomous now.
Yeah. We've been using all the systems for many years. Automatic guidance, slip control. The dual GNSS has backup as well. So if we lose the correction services to one receiver, we do have corrections delivered out of the sky to keep it going regardless of that. So we do have redundancy. With the safety requirements on this, we have 2 of everything. So
he just bought an iPhone, all right? This could be a step too far for our Alec. But it is really interesting, it is really cool. To outperform, so an average tractor in Europe must be what, 180 to 200 horsepower if you look at the average. This is 160, so that's a big statement that 160 horsepower can potentially outperform your 180 to 200 horsepower.
I mean, it's a traction in a lot of cases that we're short of. Tractor's got plenty of power, but it's patience and traction that you often run short of, depending on what you're doing. So with these tracks and this footprint, and the weight that you're putting down on it, the ability to pull and the efficiency of the driveline, the power shifts and CVTs sap so much of the power. Your air conditioning will take 6 horsepower, all the lights. Again, all of that doesn't help productivity and output, where this machine isn't looking after an operator, isn't keeping them comfortable, the right temperature with the right environment for working in. This is just focused on just getting this job done.
What about environment? Heat, cold, no problem, carry on.
No problems. One of the first machines that we sold, retailed, was in Australia, so that was working in some really extreme temperatures. So that pulls a 4,000 litre, 24 metre sprayer. That'll go out overnight when it's coolest and most effective for weed spraying.
Yeah, that's a big thing in Australia, yeah.
Spot spraying 1,000 acre fields. I think he's got 1,000 acre fields. And so that will go out, do its job, and then once it's finished, it'll cool down, automatically turn itself off, and then ready for the next day, fill up in another 1,000 acres.
Do you think we will be looking at some form of non-combustion engine going forward?
So we have the ability to replace this engine with electric and batteries if needed when the opportunity comes up. So it's compatible for. At the minute,
solar panel on the roof of her.
At the minute, we've got a 350 litre diesel tank, and that will work for 20 hours continuously. If we wanted to do the same with electric batteries, then to do the same amount of work, we'd need 11.5 tonne of battery. So that could be done, or a smaller version of that. So it's compatible and electric ready, but right now, stick to what we know and what we like, and most farmers are comfortable with diesel.
Well, look, what we have to do now, Peter, is try get it to the field. Let's see it work. Let's see if it can do something. And thanks very much. Let's try and get some nice footage of it working.
No problem.
And see if Craig can drive it. Might have found something he can drive. One that you don't need to. Thank you.
Cheers.